let's do the demo on the Richmond Gold. Yeah, so this is a Richmond Gold machine, but like before, yes, this is a Richmond Gold machine, and it's one all-in-one machine, and it's one of the most advanced noodle machine that we have. And so one, like Megumi is making the noodles for cold noodles, and these are the ingredients. And so we've got ramen wheat flour, which has like protein content of like around like 11%, and um, this is a whole egg. Um, some people like may not be familiar with whole egg powder, eggs in powder form, but whole egg powder, and then it's the calcium, potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate, and this salt and water, right? So she's adding all these solid ingredients into the mixer first. So this machine like controls all the functions using this touch panel. And so first thing we do is that like we mix up like all these solid ingredients in the mixer without any liquid added to it. And while the machine is doing that, like she's mixing, dissolving all these calcium and salt to the water, right? And just make sure you like all these salt and calcium are thoroughly dissolved to the water. So this is a liquid that is going to add to the flour, the solid ingredients. So she's setting the timer. So first we do 4 minutes, and we're adding just about like half to 2/3 of the water first, and then mixing it for 4 minutes first. And after that, we're gonna add like the rest of the water and then mix it for like another 6 minutes. So we mix it for total of 10 minutes for this type of dough. And yeah, then we can keep watching it for now 10 minutes, but like she prepared like dough beforehand, and so what she's doing now is like she's feeding it to the roller to make a sheet of dough first. And what's great about this machine is that like it just does it for you. Like you don't have to use your hand to manually feed the dough into roller, but it just does it for like automatically. And um, and then like there are sensors equipped in this machine, and like these sensors actually detecting like how much of the dough is like going in at a time, like, and then so it just automatically like adjust the speed of the conveyor belt like that's carrying the dough into the roller. And so you don't have to like worry about dough not being like fed to the roller, and then like so you can just just let it do the job. And so what's happening right now is that like she tried to put her hand through sensors. Um, so there are beams like running like kind of well the lines like these lines that you may be able to like see. But there was an invisible beams like running kind of horizontally like through so that if you try to put your hand in there like that this machine detects your hand, and so it just automatically stops the operation so that there's no danger of your hand like going into the roll end and like being become like sheet of sheet of that be becoming a part of the dough. Um, so this is one of the most like advanced safety feature probably installed in like any noodle machines. Yeah. So the first part of mixing is done, and then like it lets you know that it's done by alarm, and we just continue on the sheeting part. So continue with mixing, like adding the rest of the water and mix it for 6 more minutes. Right. So the first process, like of the sheeting process, like we call it uh, rough forming of dough sheet. So after that, right, what we're going to do is that like we're going to um, put them like separate it actually into two sheets, and we are going to put them together through the rollers. So we call it like combining process. So by combining two separate sheets of dough, we can make them firm. We can make them hard, stronger. So combining them. So just roughly like make it kind of half and half, and combining them through the rollers. So after you set these rolling pins in position, in place. Um, you can let them go, and and because see, like, notice that, like, there are sensors, right? There are sensors, like, when you're doing the first, like, rough forming process, and but, like, once you, like, close the safety gate, like, these sensors that are, like, running the beams across, right? It's not working, but, like, because you have, like, safety gate, like, already closed, like, protecting the hand from going to the rollers. So you can work beyond the, sensor beams with your hands. So now, going through the first combining process, that the surface dough, like, comes, like, kind of coming smoother and smoother. Basically, the dough is, like, firmer, stronger. So we want to go through another round of combining process just to make sure that the gluten structure inside the dough, like, is being developed thoroughly. So again, like, we're separating it into sheets, and then feeding it to rollers. It's the second combine process, and after this, we're gonna go, like, after this process, like, the noodle dough, like, texture is complete. So, all we have to do is just thin it to the final thickness. And so the thickness is basically determined by the roller gap, right? Like, how narrow the roller gap is set. Then the dough goes through it to be thin, right? But the width, right? Width, like, is only determined by the cutter that we use, and the size of cutter is determined by, like, each groove, like, in the cutter. And so the thickness is determined by the roller gap, but width is determined by the cutter size. All right, so after this process, after, like, second combined process, like, we want to start using the duster. We want to dust the dough to keep it from sticking. And because after, like, combining process, like, we want the dough to stick together, right? We want, like, to combine it, like, to stick to them, become one. But from this point on, like, we want a dough to keep from sticking. So we start dusting. And of course, you can control, like, amount of dusting you do depending on the hydration ratio. The higher the hydration ratio, like, because it's wetter, it's more prone to sticking. So we want to dust more. And if you're making like drier noodle, like Hakata style, thin noodle, like dry noodles, then you probably like don't dust at all. Okay, so she's measuring the actual thickness of the dough, and that's 2.4 millimeter, 2.4 millimeter, and then actual thickness of dough is that always bigger than the roller gap that we set, because it's a dough like wheat dough, so it just bounces back like after it's going through the roller gap. So we should, I mean, we need to like measure the actual thickness dough to see the difference between the wall gap and actual thickness, so that we know how much the dough expands back, and so by knowing that difference, we can know what the roll gap like we need to set to get the final thickness we want. And so this is a color that we are using, like this is the kind of color that we use. And then number 16, that's like 1.8, like almost, yeah, 2.0 millimeter width. So each group of the cutter, um, makes a strand of noodles. And so that just determines the noodle width. And not a great feature of like this Richmond Gold machine is that like the point where she catches the noodles, right? The noodles are coming out. It's kind of high, right? It's actually 90 centimeters from the ground, and just imagine, right? It's like if you set this up, like if you set this machine up like in front of your store, your shop, restaurant, or like even central kitchen, and you just shoot it like and then like broadcast like at your noodle shop or something, and you can show your customers the actual scenes that your noodles are coming out, right? So um, this is great. I mean, so it's a it's a like piece of equipment that like also like works as you know um, kind of like entertainment, fact, like so it's got like some entertainment factors as well. And so if you so if you have like this machine in front of a restaurant, right, and then like if you have a glass window and like people can see walking by, right, and then they can watch this machine, and like there's a like long queue, right, long queue like waiting, then they have to wait, like the people hate to wait, right, but like just watching this machine in work or operation, and you know this machine is like making noodles like in front of their eyes, and these are the noodles they would actually they would actually eat, right, in like matter of like 10 minutes, like 30 minutes or something. So this is great, like then gives them like piece of like sense of safety, that their noodles are actually being made in front of their eyes. They're not like any kind of noodles like they buy like from somewhere they don't know. They like so that's great. Like what you're gonna eat is being made like freshly in front of their eyes. That gives them like, yeah, definitely, sense of safety. Uh, and the food safety like being like really big issue, right? I mean, in the food industry, like especially like the dining industry, um, especially recently. So, um, yeah, it's something to think about. And so, yeah, by placing this machine in the center as a centerpiece of a business, I think you'll do great. I mean, your business will do great. Um, Entertaining factor, like, yeah, and then you know, um, kind of providing like customers like sense of, like safety, like just like peace of mind, that they don't have to worry about like what they're going to like put them in the mouth, put in the mouth, and then um, yeah, just freshly made, and oh, so just great to watch them. Um, Great to watch that like their noodles are just being cut into noodle strands and like and then coming out of this like piece of beautiful equipment like in front of the eyes. That's great, right? And so that's how like noodles are made, like on these rich mangold like cold noodles are made on rich mangold machine, and it's very easy to for you to be able like make a different serving sizes. Like you just have to like make different length, like adjust the length of noodles, and so it's very easy. And then like again, if you want to make them coley, then as I explained like in the lecture, like you just have to like put the parts on the back of the cutter to make the noodles get stuck in there, like, and then they come out like they get squeezed, like they pushed out, and in the process they get curly. So it's very easy to use, and um, a lot of processes are automated, and so like anyone, who's not, who doesn't have like any experience, like can actually start making great noodles in a matter of like a day or two. And please remember, like you have to put like cover like in the noodle like this kind of plastic bag so that like they don't get dried over time. If they're exposed to air, like they dry, and then it's not good for quality of noodle. So remember that. All right, so let's move to the kitchen, and we have like few cold noodle dish samples to show you guys. And so this is the kitchen that we use for our noodle school. And so yeah, so like in Japan, right? Like we, even though like there's a situation with the COVID, like we've been actually conducting like noodle schools like from time to time in Japan only, but like um, yeah, the last few months, like we had like a couple classes for udon and ramen, and so this kitchen like is equipped with you know and induction cookers, like big and small ones, for better like cooking environment, better working environment for our students, and they are very, very powerful, and they can cook up like any kind of like, you know, the stocks like tonkotsu, heavy stocks to like very light chicken stocks like fish stocks, veggie. Yeah, so like yeah, this kitchen like kind of small, but like it can house, we can like teach up to like 8 people at a time, and basically one-on-one type of like kind of training that we do like over the course of like 1 week. And so yeah, I hope like you guys will like attend it. And then in the meantime, like we are preparing e-learning courses that we are hoping to be able to like replace like some of the real classes, that curriculums that we have at school. So stay tuned. And all right, so instructor is like it. I like like is generous enough for to show us a few examples of like cold dishes. And so thank you, Mr. Ikeda. And um, so let's get started.
よろしくお願いします。今日は冷たいかけうどんと、冷やし中華ですね。と2品
Okay, so what he's going to show is like that cold udon dish that we call like bukake udon dish, and then another one like that's cold ramen we call like kind of typical like hiyashi chuka cold noodle dish. So
これは立面ゴールドで作っていただいたうどんの麺です。
so this is a udon noodle that we actually made Megumi made like in the Richmond Gold machine.
これちょっと8分ほど茹でていきます。
And we cook them for 8 minutes. 8 minutes. So again, like we need to have the water prepared, like boiling water prepared, before we add noodles in there. And I said that like in the lecture, I said like the cold noodles cooking time, udon noodles, cold udon noodles cooking time for like 10 to 12 minutes. But like for these udon noodles, that's thinner than the Sanuki udon noodles, so the cooking time is shorter. Okay, these are noodles for like hiyashi chuka.
はい。こちらですね。先ほど製麺した麺ですね。こちらを手でちょっと揉んだものがこちらになります。
Okay, so the noodles like Megumi made, right? Like just now is like this one, like straight, but like Mr. Ikeda, like well, rub them, squeeze them, like to make them curly by hand. So this is the kind of typical, curly noodles that we use for
こちらを今日使っていき
the chuka. All right. So let's start cooking.
ます。茹で時間3分ですね。茹でていきます。
So cooking time is 3 minutes.
はい。できてる間にこちらの方
All right, so while we're cooking them, like let me explain the ingredients, the toppings.
で冷やし中華ですけども、日本の代表的な具材ですね。こちら卵ですね。
So
卵。
these are typical like ingredients, the toppings that we use, like garnish that we use, like typical in Japan, like over here, this type of noodle dish, and so it's like kind of like omelet, like about like egg omelet, about like kind of sliced candy to like some like shreds, and
ハム
ham.
ですね。ハム。で、きゅうり。
It's like Japanese cucumbers,
チャーシュー。
the chashu, like pork meat,
も
pork,
やし。
and then this is bean sprouts,
で、
and
トマト。
tomatoes,
で、よくそれで使われるのがですね、こちらが紅生姜ですね。
and this is kind of typical like you use as a garnish, and that's ginger, like kind of marinated like in vinegar.
こちらを使っていきます。で今日はテイクアウト用ということで器が置いたものを用意しているのと、これは別添えで使っています。
So for take a container, like he prepared like this container, like clear plastic container, and then he had the sauce like put in that kind of small container.
次、この方ですね、かける具材です。
As for udon dish,
はい今日は天ぷらのぶっかけうどんの想定してますので、今回は4種類ですね、天ぷらの方をご用意しました。
so like this bukake udon, like it is that type of like noodle cold noodle dish, like I was talking about, like that's mixed up type, and so tempura, different types.
はい、舞茸、
It's a kind of mushroom like we call it maitake,
ちくわ、
like kind of like fish cake
でかぼちゃ、
and pumpkin and
で、エビです。
prawn. Okay,
で、こちらが添えの薬味ですね。
and then these are garnish that you prepare like
ちょっとネギと大根と生姜になります。
chopped up scallion, like ground daikon, radish, and the yeah, ground ginger.
はい。では器はこういった四角いお弁当みたいな形ですね。
And so he prepared like this kind of square shape, like the plastic, and kind of he had an image like kind of bento box, the square. So I
最近
think
日本でも丸亀製麺とかね、花丸のっていうかあるんで、
right. So like yeah, some like famous udon shop chains like actually started offering what they call like udon bento box. So kind of mimic that kind of product. All right, so let's finish it. First, do the cold ramen dish. So again, like we have to wash it to remove the starch, right? I mean, the more you wash them, like the more you remove the starch, the less likely, the noodles get stuck like after that. So and make sure you strain the water as much as you can, like so squeeze them out.
ただお隣のっていうことですが、そのままだとつきやすいので、少しごま油ですね、回しています。
And to prevent them from sticking, right? So she put a bit of like sesame oil, and like kind of coat the noodles with sesame oil so that like they don't stick later. And then at the same time you can add like good flavor of sesame oil, the noodles themselves. Okay, let's plate it.
ではその他の具材を乗せていきます。今回はこういった具材を使いますけども、好みのものを乗せていただければ結構です。
Yeah, so like this time around, like I'm just using like these ingredients, these toppings for these toppings. But like you can definitely like make them like you can use like any kind anything. But you should remember that like you should make the shapes of like all these toppings to like kind of same shapes, kind of small pieces, so that they can like so when you're eating it with the noodles, they give you good texture, kind of like yeah with the noodles. So and I noticed like that he cut each of the ingredients like in the same size, like same shapes, so they appear beautiful, right? And then at the same like time, like in texture wise, the noodles is very like well balanced.
はい、あとトマトですね。
and topping tomatoes.
で、先生に今日は紅生姜を入れていただきます。
And adding the marinated ginger top in the center.
ではこちら、はい。
Okay, so that's done for chuka.
次、うどんの方に。
Okay, so let's start with udon.
こちらも流しで洗っていきます。
Okay, so we're gonna wash them to remove the starch. So as you wash them, right, like you need to, because like the starch is like kind of, well, dissolved in the washing water, like on the water, right? And then so like the water gets dirtier, and as you can notice, like she's like frequently changing the water. And well, I think if you're washing like great amount of like noodles, like I think you have to have like a bigger bowl, and you should have to have like you should like change the water like more frequently. Okay, so let's plate it.
こちらのね、手に糸を使って、絞らずにこのまま手で取りながら、水分を絞ってもいいですよ。
Okay, so what I want to do is that like we usually like squeeze the noodles like to, well, like strain the water like as much water as possible. But this time around, like I want like make it look good in the box. So I'm going to like kind of like comb the noodles through the fingers and like kind of straighten them, and then yeah, just directly put the noodles to the container. Just make it look good. And as you can see, like I made some space for these toppings to go in. So my maitake mushroom, chikua fish cake, and a pumpkin. And a prawn. And I'm gonna put like there's a daikon radish and ginger and scallion. So yeah, notice like I made like a space, right? Like using the noodles, how you place the noodles, right? So I made some space, and then at the same time like I'm showing the beautiful service with noodles. And so that's the udon bento box. Okay, so we have two types of cold noodle dish like that are great for takeout and delivery. And yeah, and then like you know you can make actually like any kind of like um, cold noodle dishes like like applying like what we talked about today, and using your local ingredients, and you can make them like vegan, you can make them like gluten free, yeah, and that's yeah, it's just up to like your ideas, like up to your like imagination. So and like up to your like maybe like your customers like preferences, like requests. So that's cold noodles, and I think like cold noodles like is really good for delivery and takeout nowadays. And like even like it's not like in summer like hot days, right? Like it's a very good yeah dish for takeout and delivery, and you know um, and I think like it's gonna be like on the like more it's gonna be like in a greater demand from now on as well. And yeah, evidently, right? A lot of big restaurant chains like they're like actually engaged in like developing these cold noodle like delivery takeout items. And once you make them, right, and it's very easy for you to be able like like for your customers to be able like customize them, like you can just have like all these different components, as a menu, and it just your customers can choose, pick like whatever they want, and then all you have to do is just package them, right? So it's very easy, and then like again, as I said, like the temperature wise, like we're talking about like food danger zone, safety temperature zone, it's great in that regard too. So yeah, it's like as like there's like there's gonna be like more and more demands on like takeout and delivery business, whole noodles. Yeah, I'm sure like it's gonna be like one of the ways, one of the dishes that like we should think and focus more and more on. So yeah, so that's what we had for this class. Thank you so much for attending this class, and then thank you. See you in the next class. Thank you. Bye bye.